had a drink last week with an old friend. Let's call him David. I hadn't seen David in about 4 years. The last time I saw him, he was broke. He was sleeping on a futon that smelled like wet dog. He was trying to start a drop-shipping business selling fidget spinners. Frankly, he was a mess. I, on the other hand, was doing everything right. I had the job. I had the 401k. I had the savings account. I was following the manual. So I met him at a bar. And David walks in, and he looks different. He's not wearing a suit. David doesn't do suits, but he has this glow. He orders a Japanese whiskey that costs $40 a pour. He doesn't even look at the menu. We get to talking. And it turns out, David isn't selling fidget spinners anymore. David is allocating capital. He owns 3 rental properties. He has a portfolio of tech stocks. He's looking at buying a boat. And I sat there nursing my domestic beer, trying to do the math in my head. I know David. He isn't smarter than me. In fact, I helped him pass algebra in high school. He doesn't work harder than me. While I'm grinding out 50-hour weeks, answering emails at 9 p.m., stressing about deadlines, David is seemingly just floating. He isn't creating anything. He isn't building anything. He isn't saving lives. He is just clicking buttons. And yet, the gap between us isn't closing. It's widening. Every year, he gets further ahead. Every year, I feel like I'm running on a treadmill that someone is cranking up to sprint speed. I look at the house he just bought. It would take me 30 years of saving every single penny of my disposable income to afford the down payment on that house. And he bought it with leverage. For a long time, this feeling ate at me. It felt like jealousy. It felt ugly. I told myself, stop it. Just work harder. Maybe skip the latte. Maybe get a side hustle. Because that's what we are told, right? We are told that money is a certificate of performance. Input equals output. If you have money, it means you contributed value. If you don't, it means you need to try harder. But sitting in that bar, watching David swirl his $40 whiskey, I realized something terrifying. The manual I was following, the one about hard work and savings, it wasn't just outdated, it was a lie. David wasn't winning because he was better at the game. He was winning because he was playing a completely different game. I was playing accumulate currency. He was playing ride the wave. I was trying to fill a bucket with water. He was standing next to the hose. That night, I went home and I couldn't sleep. The envy turned into confusion, and the confusion turned into obsession. I asked the question that polite people aren't supposed to ask. If the government is printing trillions of dollars, where is it all going? It's not vanishing. Energy is conserved. If the money supply is doubling, and my bank account isn't doubling, and your bank account isn't doubling, who has the money? That's when I realized the problem isn't the amount. We obsess over the trillions. We get scared by the big numbers. But the amount doesn't matter. If everyone got $1 million tonight, nothing would change. Prices would just add zeros. The hierarchy would stay the same. The problem isn't how much. The problem is, in what order? The problem is the sequence. The problem is that the money doesn't arrive in everyone's hands at the same time. It walks in single file. And if you are wondering why you feel tired, if you are wondering why you can't catch up to David, it's because you are standing at the back of the line. We need to perform an exorcism. We need to purge a specific image from our brains. It's the image of the helicopter. Every Economics 101 professor tells the same fairy tale. They say, when the central bank prints money, it's like a helicopter flying over the country dropping bags of cash. They call it a helicopter drop. The idea is that money is neutral, that it hits everyone equally. If the helicopter drops cash, the doctor gets some, the janitor gets some, the billionaire gets some. Everyone's cash balance goes up. Prices go up. Everything balances out. No harm, no foul. That is adorable. It is a beautiful, egalitarian bedtime story designed to keep you from burning down the bank. Money is not neutral, and there is no helicopter. In the real world, money doesn't fall from the sky. It enters the building through a door, a specific physical guarded door. Imagine the economy is a massive, crowded nightclub. Outside there is a velvet rope. Standing in the rain are the millions of people who work for a living. The nurses, the teachers, the small business owners. The real economy. We are waiting to get in. We are trading our time for a ticket. But there is a VIP entrance, a side door. And standing at that door are the friends of the owner, the mega banks, the hedge funds, the primary dealers, the massive defense contractors, the people David works for. When the system decides to stimulate the economy, when they decide to create $100 billion out of thin air to save the market, they don't throw it over the barricades to the people in the rain. They hand it to the guy at the VIP door. They hand the entire bag to him. And they say, here, use this, get the party started. Eventually, let it trickle down to the people outside. This is the invisible queue. And this is the secret that explains everything about the last 20 years. The distance between that VIP door and the velvet rope isn't just a physical distance. It is a time distance. It takes time for money to move. Money is viscous. It flows like honey, not like light. It oozes. It moves from the VIP to the investor, to the corporation, to the subcontractor, to the manager, to you. And here is the physics of the theft. Here is the crime scene. Money changes its value as it moves through the line. When it is at the front of the line, it is fresh. It is potent. It is nuclear. When it is at the back of the line, it is radioactive waste. The person at the front of the line gets to spend the money before the prices rise. The person at the back of the line only gets the money after the prices have risen. So the game isn't about how hard you work. The game is about your position in the queue. David isn't working harder. He's just standing closer to the door. Let's zoom in on that VIP room. Let's look at the moment of first contact. I want you to imagine you are one of these first receivers. Let's say you run a massive trading desk at a global bank. It's Tuesday morning. The economy is looking shaky. So the Federal Reserve pushes a button. Click. They buy some bonds from you. And in exchange, they wire you $10 billion of fresh, newly created cash. Now pause the tape. Look at the world around you at this exact second. You have $10 billion of new money in your account. But the price of milk hasn't changed. The price of gas hasn't changed. The price of a penthouse in Manhattan hasn't changed. The price of Amazon stock hasn't changed. The world doesn't know the money exists yet. The inflation hasn't happened yet. You are standing in a magical window of time. You possess absolute optionality. So what do? Do you do the responsible thing? Do you lend that money to a local bakery so they can buy a new oven? No, that's risky. Bakeries go bust. Do you put it in a savings account? No, cash is trash. You do what any rational predator would do. You go shopping. You use this infinite cheat code money to buy assets. You buy stocks. You buy corporate bonds. You buy real estate. You buy commodities. You buy claims on the future. And because you are buying with a fire hose of cash, you bid the prices up. You start buying Apple stock. The price goes up. You start buying neighborhoods in Atlanta. The price goes up. You start buying copper futures. The price goes up. To you, this doesn't feel like inflation. To you, this feels like genius. You look at your portfolio and it's glowing green. You think, wow, I'm so smart. I predicted the market recovery. You didn't predict anything. You caused the recovery. You're the wave. This is the Cantillon Effect. Named after Richard Cantillon, a guy who figured this out in the 1700s. He said, "He who touches the money first steals from he who touches it last." The first receivers get to buy the world at yesterday's prices using tomorrow's money. They are time travelers. They are stripping the shelves bare before the store even opens for the rest of us. And this creates a wealth effect. If you own assets, if you are already rich, you feel richer instantly. David's portfolio goes up 40%. He feels great. He buys the boat. The system is working perfectly for him. The champagne is flowing at the top of the tower. It's cold. It's bubbly. It's intoxicating. But gravity exists. The champagne has to flow down. And that's where things get ugly. This brings us to the weapon. If the money printer is the gun, then the lag is the bullet. We live in a world of instant gratification. You send a text, it arrives instantly. You order an Uber, it arrives in 3 minutes. So we assume the economy works the same way. We assume that if there is inflation, wages will rise to match it immediately. That's the wage price spiral they warn us about. But that's not what happens. There is a speed mismatch, and it is lethal. Runner number one is the asset market. It runs on fiber optic cables. It runs on high-frequency trading algorithms. If the Fed prints money at 9 a.m., the asset market adjusts by 9:01 a.m. Stocks up, housing up, crypto up. The first receivers get richer instantly. Runner number two is the real economy. The economy of wages. The economy of rent. The economy of groceries. This runner is fat. He is slow. He has asthma. This runner moves at the speed of human bureaucracy. Think about it. How often does the price of a house change? Every minute on Zillow. How often does your rent change? Once a year. How often does the price of a stock change? Milliseconds. How often does your salary change? Once a year? If you're lucky? Maybe you have to wait for a union negotiation. Maybe you have to wait for a performance review. This lag, this gap between the asset price explosion and the wage adjustment, is the kill zone. It usually lasts about 12 to 18 months, sometimes longer. During this lag, you are living in a nightmare. You are walking into the grocery store and the prices are pricing in the new money. The eggs are $8. The gas is $5. The first receivers have already bid up the cost of raw materials. But your bank account? Your bank account is still living in the past. You are paying 2026 prices with a 2024 paycheck. You are drowning in the gap. Every single day of that lag is a wealth transfer. Every hour you work for that old, unadjusted wage, you are being robbed. You are effectively working for free for a portion of your day. You feel this physically, don't you? Feels like gravity is increasing. You are lifting the same weights, but they feel heavier. You are running the same distance, but you are more exhausted. You aren't imagining it. The air is getting thinner. The currency is losing its energy as it travels toward you. It is bleeding out purchasing power with every hand it passes through. By the time it reaches your boss, by the time it reaches your payroll department, it has already done its damage. The tsunami has already hit the shore. The houses have been swept away. And you are standing there with a bucket, wondering why the water level is so high. And then, finally, the money arrives. It trickles down. The last receiver. Who is it? It's the pensioner on a fixed income. It's the saver who kept cash in the bank. It's the hourly worker. Too. The money arrives in your life not as a flood, but as a drip. Maybe you finally get that raise. Good news, your boss says. We are giving you a 4% cost of living adjustment. He smiles like he just handed you the keys to a Ferrari. And for a split second you feel relief. Okay, 4%. That helps. But then you do the math. Your rent went up 15%. Your insurance went up 20%. Your groceries went up 10%. That 4% raise isn't a reward. It's a pay cut. It's a controlled demolition of your standard of living. But here is the darkest part. The money you finally received? It isn't the same money that the first receiver got. Physically, it looks the same. It's the same green paper. It's the same digital code. But energetically, it is spent fuel. It's like a battery that has been drained. The first receiver used the charge to buy assets. The second receiver used the charge to build a factory. The third receiver used the charge to buy raw materials. By the time it gets to you, the battery is dead. It has used money. You are holding the empty husk of a currency, and the system encourages you to hold it. They tell you, save, be prudent, put it in the bank. This is the ultimate trap. When you save in a currency that is being printed from the top, you are volunteering to be the battery for the system. You are storing your time, your labor, in a vessel that has a hole in the bottom, and the people at the top are drinking from the straw. Your prudence is their profit margin. Your patience is their liquidity. You are the designated loser of the game, not because you are stupid, but because you are standing at the end of the conveyor belt. Let's zoom in on that VIP room. Let's look at the moment of first contact. I want you to imagine you are one of these first receivers. Let's say you run a massive trading desk at a global bank. It's Tuesday morning. The economy is looking shaky. So the Federal Reserve pushes a button. Click. They buy some bonds from you. And in exchange, they wire you $10 billion of fresh, newly created cash. Now pause the tape. Look at the world around you at this exact second. You have $10 billion of new money in your account. But the price of milk hasn't changed. The price of gas hasn't changed. The price of a penthouse in Manhattan hasn't changed. The price of Amazon stock hasn't changed. The world doesn't know the money exists yet. The inflation hasn't happened yet. You are standing in a magical window of time. You possess absolute optionality. So what do? Do you do the responsible thing? Do you lend that money to a local bakery so they can buy a new oven? No, that's risky. Bakeries go bust. Do you put it in a savings account? No, cash is trash. You do what any rational predator would do. You go shopping. You use this infinite cheat code money to buy assets. You buy stocks. You buy corporate bonds. You buy real estate. You buy commodities. You buy claims on the future. And because you are buying with a fire hose of cash, you bid the prices up. You start buying Apple stock. The price goes up. You start buying neighborhoods in Atlanta. The price goes up. You start buying copper futures. The price goes up. To you, this doesn't feel like inflation. To you, this feels like genius. You look at your portfolio and it's glowing green. You think, wow, I'm so smart. I predicted the market recovery. You didn't predict anything. You caused the recovery. You're the wave. This is the Cantillon Effect. Named after Richard Cantillon, a guy who figured this out in the 1700s. He said, "He who touches the money first steals from he who touches it last." The first receivers get to buy the world at yesterday's prices using tomorrow's money. They are time travelers. They are stripping the shelves bare before the store even opens for the rest of us. And this creates a wealth effect. If you own assets, if you are already rich, you feel richer instantly. David's portfolio goes up 40%. He feels great. He buys the boat. The system is working perfectly for him. The champagne is flowing at the top of the tower. It's cold. It's bubbly. It's intoxicating. But gravity exists. The champagne has to flow down. And that's where things get ugly. So, where does that leave us? Standing in the rain, holding our dead batteries, watching David drink his whiskey. Once you see the cue, you can't unsee it. You stop being angry at David. He's just a guy who found a spot near the door. You stop being angry at the grocery clerk. She's just standing in line next to you. You stop listening to the politicians who promise to tax the rich or give you a rebate. You realize they are just rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. They aren't steering the ship. The ship is steering itself. The realization is quiet, and it is lonely, but it is also freeing. Because once you stop playing the game of moral outrage, you can start playing the game of positioning. You stop asking, why is the system unfair? And you start asking, where is the front of the line? If the money is always potent at the source and diluted at the bottom, if the asset is always the first receiver and the wage is always the last receiver, then the only logical move, one of the few moves that still makes sense, is to stop standing at the bottom. You have to move. You have to stop storing your life in the battery that leaks. You have to stop trusting the ruler that shrinks. You have to find a way to get closer to the door. Is it easy? No. Is it risky? Yes. But the alternative isn't safety. The alternative is the slow mathematical certainty of being erased. The line is moving. The doors are opening again. The printer is warming up for the next crisis. The next transfer is about to begin. And this time, you know the map. So the question is, are you going to wait for the trickle? Or are you going to build a bucket? Next episode, we stop looking at the line and start asking what actually floats.